Hello everybody, how are you doing today? Welcome back to another energy reading for the week of August 16th, 2021. How was your weekend? How are you doing? It's funny because every week I come in and I feel collectively we have been moving up higher and higher in vibration, which is a really big thing. But along with that higher vibration, you have to let things drop away. And in order to let things drop away, you have to see them. So, I don't know about you guys, but I know for the past week or so, I've been kind of dragging my butt and seeing all of the things that I have to see in order to let them drop, so to speak, right? So, I want to know from you, how have you been doing? How have things been going on in your life? Hi, Amelia. Thanks so much for coming on. What are some things that you are being faced with in your awakening right now at this moment? I want to know. I want to know what you're going through. And I want you to know that you're not alone. You definitely aren't. We have over 600 people in this group who are all awakening, who are all feeling it. So the more that we kind of tune into it, the faster that we can speed things up and get through it, right? So before I get into the actual reading today, I did want to let you know about a couple of special announcements. So one special announcement was the podcast episode that launched this weekend on Saturday. So I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it yet on the Awakening Journey podcast. I let everything out of the bag. I tuned into my empathic side and I pulled out all of the tools that I have used over the years and I put them all into one episode, one place for you guys to take what you need from, take what you want to, leave what you don't. But that podcast episode is jam-packed with empathic awakening goodness. So Amelia says, we had a flat tire and required us to get a new one. And I let it in the universe's hands and no stress. We ended but being able to fix our tire. Oh, good, you did end up fixing it. It's interesting how you kind of just put things out there and you're like, everything will turn out, right? And as soon as you do that, as soon as you release the reins of control, which there's a lot of things that externally, obviously, that we don't have control over, that we tell ourselves that we do. But as soon as we release that, it's funny how things just kind of fall into place, right? Best way of manifestation. So yeah. That is so amazing to hear for you, Amelia. Really good stuff. So if you haven't checked out that podcast episode, I would highly recommend that you do. If you are an awakening empath like me, and you're having some struggles and you need some tools in your tool belt to kind of get you going, definitely check out that episode 23. Yeah. Also, another big revelation that happened this week for me, last week that we came from, was I finally came to this place of understanding of how I can incorporate Reiki attunements to the Awakening Coaching Life series. So I figured it out. It all just kind of came in one day. It's interesting because my guides just gave me this big blueprint all at once. And it's kind of how it happens. The ideas just kind of fall in and then you have to sort and sift it, right? So it all came in and it just fit and it just worked. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I can do, because I personally was struggling understanding how I can continue to be a Reiki master teacher and incorporate it into my life coaching practice, because those two together are the most potent and powerful things that anyone can go through to raise up to the next vibration or next level of this game that we call life. Right? So if that's something that you've been kind of called to, definitely message me, reach out to me, and we can talk more about that and how we can incorporate it into your own life. Another good thing about the coaching series is because the Reiki is now in there, if you need business coaching, if you need help trying to launch your business, getting into that place of getting yourself out there, that is something that I know a lot about. I have been doing that over the past few years. So that is something also that I will offer. So if you are interested, message me. We can talk more about that. Okay. The energy reading for this week. What's it all about, right? We're talking all about your inner compass. your inner true north, your inner truth. That is what's being called from the energy this week, which is interesting because when I tuned into it, I myself personally this morning, the whole entire morning, I was journaling, figuring things out, yelling at the universe. Like I've been going through the emotions. I'm not going to lie. But that's just how that's how I sort myself out, right? Just getting mad enough to make a change, to get to that place of knowing where my true north is, right? And then that got me thinking, and I'm like, okay, well, that's what the energy is calling us to do. And I tend to really dive into all of these things, me personally. And that's what I want for you. I want you to be able to grab on to the messages that are coming in. Now, these are messages from my higher self, right? So this is something that when I tune into the energies, I ask for my higher selves to connect with all of your higher selves. It's like this grid work that pulls out of all the information that we need to hear at this time in order to get the best results and be at our highest vibration, right? So that being said, we want to know what energy or vibration to activate in our energy fields in order to attract what we want. Because that's law of attraction, right? You got to be at the vibration that you want to attract. If you're at a vibration that you're experiencing things that you don't enjoy and you don't want, you're going to be attracting more of those. So we just got to be consciously aware of what we're vibrating at, right? So that being said, the message is this week is to tune into that inner compass. Where are you going? What do you want out of life? Where do you feel the pull? Because the pull is pulling you into the direction of your true nature, of your true self, in your truth, right? So a lot of the times it's hard to tune into your inner compass because everything else is so loud. And that's a practice. That's something that you have to almost do daily. It's like a daily discipline. It's interesting because discipline is something that you have to do consistently over and over again until it becomes an actual habit, right? So tuning into your frequency, tuning into your inner compass is no different, right? So your inner compass is always actively pointing you into the direction of all of the answers that you have been seeking. And that is the interesting thing, because when I started my journey, I'm not gonna lie, I did a lot of Google searching. I did a lot of following all of the spiritual teachers, reading all of the books, getting all of the stuff and all of the knowledge, eating it all up. And then I was left with even more questions than I did have answers. And there was that little voice in the back of my head saying, it's time to go in. It's time to go in. But I resisted it. And I didn't go in for a very long time. I would go in, but I would gloss over it. And I would back away right away. Because when you go in, I got to tell you this first and foremost, when you go into that place, it can be scary because that's not something that you've ever ventured out before. That is a place that most likely to this point in time in your life, you haven't spent a whole lot of time there. So it's very unfamiliar. And what happens when you step into the unfamiliar, you're stepping out of your comfort zone, right? And it's scary out there for those that haven't done it a whole lot. The whole trick is to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. Knowing that when you feel that weird, uncomfortable sense, that you're actually in a place of growth. That you're actually reaching out farther than you've ever reached out before. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Ego wants to protect you. So of course it's going to feed you lies and tell you that this is bad, this is not good, don't go down there. Do you remember what happened last time when you tried, right? But your job is to see through that, is to understand that there's something bigger and brighter out there for you. So I want to tap into the energies. I'm pulled out my sacred geometry deck and my activations deck to see what do we need to activate. What energy frequency do we need to activate in our DNA, in our actual physical body, in order to get better attuned to your inner compass? Okay, that's interesting. So I just pulled one card out. The card that came out was delight. That's interesting, because if you think about it, that's the ultimate goal, is that you want to have delight in your life. You want to have happiness. You want to have that concise understanding of where you're going and what you're doing and what you're going to do when you get there, right? So delight, that's an interesting vibration, right? So when we think about delight, it says the frequency of delight supports our capacity to create the experience, feelings of intense joy and happiness. And that's kind of what we're all looking for, right? That's where we all want, but we seem to be elusive to that realization, which is interesting. So maybe activating the energies of delight. So really all you're really doing is saying higher self. You connect with your higher self. You just say, hey, higher self, I want to activate the feeling or frequency of delight in my holographic body, in this frequency that I am in now. Bring it in. Just imagine it coming in from your higher self. Because here's the thing, nothing is going to come to you unless you ask for it. But the flip on that is like, how do you know what to ask for, right? It's tuning into the tools that we're given. So I use oracle cards as a tool. I also use a whole lot of other things in the toolbox that I've told you all about in that podcast episode. But just communicating with your higher self, all it is you're imagining. When you imagine, of course, it's all real. That's what they don't tell you when you're a child. You're imagining that column of white light connecting you to this huge ball of higher self that your higher self is, because we are only droplets of that higher being, right? So we are incarnated in this body, but we need guidance and we need support. And that's what we can get from asking our higher self to give us these things. So let's ask for our higher self to send us the frequency of delight. And then go in there and see what you get from that this week. When you actually activate in your DNA structure the feelings of delight, imagine what you can get from that. Imagine where that will take you. Who knows? It honestly is infinite possibilities, to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to just tap into our animals deck and see what animal guidance that we have for this week. That's always fun. So we know that to get into this place of our inner compass, we want to obviously look for answers within us. Trust. That's the biggest thing. Trust what you're getting. Because often we'll dismiss everything that we get from our inner guidance because we've never been taught how to listen to it, how to connect with it on a deeper level. And all it is just dancing around in a circle, but it's a spiral, not more like a circle. You're coming in closer and closer, and then you're there. And then you get that place, right? So in just tapping into that more and more will create a stronger bond, right? Just like when you meet a new friend and you get to know that new friend, the more time you spend with that friend, the more you're gonna know about them, right? Same thing with your inner self. How much time have you spent with your inner self? How much time have you spent connecting with your higher self? Not as much time as you spent in this world, I bet you, right? So it's just a matter of tuning into these things and knowing that you have the capacity to do that, first and foremost, right? So I'm going to ask for our guides to bring us an animal for our totem of this week that is going to help us to activate the frequency of delight into our DNA body. Let's see what comes up. Here we go. Ooh, interesting. So what came out was deer. Who here, if you're watching live or the replay, has seen a deer within the past week? I'm just curious. How many times have you seen it either in real life, driving down the highway, on the side of the road? They just appear to you in certain ways. Once a deer came right up to my living room window and stared right into my living room, which was really crazy. I had to look up the meaning, but that's something that I did share a while ago. But the message this week for deer, Jennifer says, within the last few months, right? They have messages, they have vibrations that they're pulling in, right? So cool. Yeah, it is pretty cool, right? So, okay, deer, it says trust in the support of the universe. So trust in the support of the universe because you are the universe, by the way. You are the one who creates your universe. You create your reality. You create everything. We give so much power away when we say God created this, Source did this for me, Source did that for me, or my angels or my guides did this for me. You did it. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whatever the way you perceive it, it's still a creation of your doing. So let's tune into the deer. I'm going to pull up in the book and see what it actually has to say in the book. It's very interesting. Okay, so the guidance of the deer. It says, the deer card is reminding you to trust the universe, to look after you and support you, to trust your own deepest intuition or your inner compass, right? Then follow its guidance. How easy is it for you to listen to your inner guidance, by the way? I would love to put that in the comments. Is it easy for you to tune into your inner compass, or do you disbelieve it? Or do you even know that you're even connected? I would like to know. Share it. So it says, the deer bring you a message of balance and equilibrium. For you are guided to employ your psychic knowing while maintaining your dignity and your divine magnificence. If you are reading this in the spring, expect a renewal of hope, confidence, and a new direction. If it is autumn, which is where we're at right now, we're stepping into the end of summer, right? Beginning of autumn, so this one applies to us. So if it is autumn, there may be endings that will ultimately benefit you, so handle them with grace. So if you are in a place of crumbling, foundations are, right? Jennifer says, I do sometimes. Yeah, right? Sometimes it's hard to trust your intuition or your inner compass or your guidance, right? But it's a practice. It's like meeting that new friend and getting to know that person more and more, right? Except for that new person is you. Okay, so it says, handle it with grace. So anything that's ending right now, let it go, because it's making way for something so much bigger and so much better for you. All right. You are asked to look out for your help, and for those weaker than yourself. And Archangel Michael will assist you in this task. So he invites you to remember that we are all one, and helping one another, you promote your own spiritual growth and ultimately the wealth of the planet, right? So you not only are you helping other people, but because we're all connected, you're actually helping yourself. So helping other people, helping yourself, doesn't matter as long as you're tuning into what is being asked of you right now and how are you responding to the invitations of the universe. How are you being invited to respond? That's interesting. That's an interesting question you may even want to tune into a little bit more of. But that is the messages that I've tuned into for this week. Just knowing that trust is a big thing when you're tuning into your intuition and into your internal guidance. I played this little game with myself this morning when I was tuning into the intuition. I was like, you know what? I wanted to know something. And I was like, I usually would just go and Google it and see what the universe will show me, because that's the thing. The universe works in a lot of different ways, right? But I said, no, this time I'm going to tune into my own internal guidance and see what comes up and just trust. I'm just going to write down whatever comes up. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to do it. And I'm still working on it. I'm not going to lie. But the thing is that doing that is a little bit harder. It is only harder because it's not something that we're used to doing on a consistent basis until you create that habit and that new practice, right? So that's another thing, just to tune into that part of you, tune into that place where you already have all of the answers you need. And the greatest thing is that once you tune into that place, then you can start accessing your Akashic records and then start pulling in a lot more stuff. But that's a whole nother episode and a whole nother thing. So that is it for me today. I want to say thank you so much for coming on, hanging out with me and, listening to these messages. And if this is something that resonates with you, definitely share it. You cannot share it in the group if you're in the Facebook group. Unfortunately, it is private. However, you can share it from the YouTube channel, which is just The Awakening Journey. So if that's something that resonates with you, please do so. All right. So I send you so much love and so much light, and you have an amazing week. Mwah. Take care. Bye-bye.